Welcome to Comics with Dan. Welcome to Monday Night Comics. I am running a little bit late tonight, but that's all right. We'll muddle through. I broke my streak of, I don't even know how many weeks it was. If we take a look here, how many weeks in a row did I have a stream? But I took a break last week because I just had a lot going on with work, so needed a bit of a break. So, I mean, yeah, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 weeks in a row that I had streamed, and then finally took a break. But it's good to take breaks. It's it's necessary sometimes, even with your hobbies, right? So um, sometimes it's just nice to just relax and do nothing. So that's pretty much what I did last week, or last Monday rather. So I'm excited to talk to you about everything I've read in the last 2 weeks. I've been able to read a ton, and honestly, what's interesting is that most of my um, most of my books on the list this week are books that I've read in the past 2 weeks, and there's actually not a ton that I'm really super hyped about on the horizon. There's a handful of ones that I'm pretty excited about, but anything that's got final order cut off in the next 2 weeks, there's just not a ton of it there. So let's take a look at our list then. I'm going to pull up League of Comic Geeks. Of course, I'm not logged in anymore. So why would we want it to be too easy? You know? All right. So hopefully we can get some. Be cool to get some folks to join. I kind of put the call out on League of Comic Geeks and said anybody that wants to join and talk about any of the books can just message me. So let me get to my lists here. We have, Monday Night Comics number 34, and then we'll get started. All right. That's not what I want to do. All right. You can share. All right. So you can see I have, actually, it doesn't show the count on here. It does show it on the app. Oh, no, there we go. Yeah, 29 books on the list this week, which is a lot for me, especially considering I've read 15 of them, right? So that means that half of them are ones that I've read. The other half are ones that I'm kind of looking forward to. So let's see. We can start with Sonic the Hedgehog number 85. So this one co-written by Evan Stanley and Ian Flynn. In the last issue we had Sage was introduced to the IDW universe. Sage is a character from the Sonic Frontiers game, so it was cool to see that happen. And it's been kind of, my understanding, it's been a bit of a long time coming to have Frontier sort of fit into what's happening in IDW. To be honest, I am rather confused about everything that goes on with the continuity between the Sonic games and the comics. I know that the Sonic Forces game kind of butts right up against the beginning of the IDW comics, and that's pretty much the extent of it, at least that I understand. But anyway, so we got introduced to Comic Book Sage, and it was cool to see because Sage is a creation of Dr. Robotnik, that or Dr. Eggman, I guess rather, um, that she and Belle kind of had some banter and there was some tension there, at least definitely from Belle's side, but Sage doesn't really kind of show that type of emotion. So it was cool to see that. And then in this issue, we get to see them actually work together a bit more, which was kind of cool. Um, One thing that I found really interesting about this particular book was the like almost horror element of it, right? I was kind of surprised there was a few like real creepy moments, and especially considering that like ever since we've started on this, road to issue 100 thing, there's been somebody carrying around the Chaos Emeralds in a coffin, which is pretty dark for a kid's comic, I would say. Um, but the there's a reference to that in here, and I'm pretty sure it's in the preview. Yeah, 'cause there's this coffin here. Now, this turns out to just be a door, but um, but either way, right? Like it's staying consistent. We know that they've discovered this base of whoever it is that's carrying those. I think that there's a lot of questioning whether it's Starline. Um, to me, again, and I said this last week too, I think that I feel like it's a little early to bring back Starline. Which obviously, like, it's been, 35 issues, right? Several years. But I would really just like for it to be dragged out as long as possible, right? And I don't think I would even be all that upset if this was just an original character, right? I know it's being built up like it's sort of a like you're going to be surprised at who this is, which is kind of what makes me think it probably is Starline. But I wouldn't be all that disappointed if it was an original character, and like an original character with a really good design. Starline has a great design. Clutch the Opossum is great. I think about other villains that we've seen so far. I mean, those two are the really big ones that we've seen. Obviously, Eggman, but it's definitely not him. So I've said before that I would really think it would just be incredible to pull something from Archie Sonic. Um, and I'm not sure how that would go. I have my own set of ideas, but you know, I, there's no way it's going to happen, right? I mean, the whole Ken Penders thing is going to prevent that. But I do think that it could be really cool to bridge those with the kind of peak of that happening in issue 100. But just because like the legality of it, there's just no way it's happening. So okay, so also worth noting in this issue, none of my kids' artwork made it in, which ends up being the first thing that we look for now whenever we get a new Sonic issue, is to see if there's going to be any of their artwork in there. I did go to my local comic shop and ask them for like 6 extra issues of Sonic 84 um because that's the one that my son's artwork got published in. So I want to actually frame his original artwork next to the page that it shows up in the book. Actually, let me see if I think I actually have his artwork over here. I'm not sure. I do have one of his sketchbooks here. And I don't think he would mind if I showed you this, but I'm just not sure if we have the yeah, this doesn't have the original artwork in it, but it's still got some good stuff in it. Like, let's see. I mean, they're all good to be honest, but I mean, we've got some work here. Um, this is a good one. He had me send this one in, so you'll get a sneak peek if it makes it in. It's a scene from Sonic 3, or it's supposed to be a scene from Sonic 3. It's yeah, the where they first meet Shadow, right? And they're fighting him, and there's the Shadow here. He's getting really good at doing like the different dynamic poses and stuff like that. Like not just here's all these characters just kind of standing there, you know. And so there's also he's got Sonic in motion, of course. So, but maybe at some point I'll find that original artwork. I know it's somewhere around here, but either way, um, excited to see if any of his artwork or my other kid's artwork shows up in number 86. So, next on my list here is Supergirl number 11. Um, and so the reason I wanted this in the first place was the Boy Thunder on the front. Um, I'm a big World's Finest fan, and that was one of my favorite arcs of that. So him on the front and center, or on the cover, front and center, made me want to pick the book up. Well, unfortunately, he shows up kind of in the shadows on the last couple pages, which was really a bummer. And like on one hand, I would like to pick up the next issue. I'd like to pick up the next issue, but I don't know that he'll even be in it. Uh, so on top of that, and like I don't generally want to, say disparaging things um about all the hard work that comic creators put into this art and to this medium. But I also feel like I should be honest about how I feel about these books. Otherwise, can't really be taken seriously if I just say everything's good all the time. Um, and I do like Sophie Campbell, and I mean I just want to look and see because I've I've read I've read some of her Ninja Turtles, I believe, and she's done stuff in Superman Unlimited, I guess, or maybe she just did a cover. I don't know. She's definitely a good artist, and I feel like I've read her writing before and have enjoyed it. But this really felt like like middle school drama between two people, and it was kind of lined up to be this really dramatic moment between these two characters. It was Supergirl and Black Flame, and um, it really just it did not hit for me. It felt very juvenile in terms of the dialogue. Her art was great. She's the writer and the artist on the book, so the art was really good. And obviously, Tamara Bonvillain's colors were fantastic, and Becca Carey's letters were as good as always. I just really felt like the writing was a swing and a miss for me, which is part of the reason. There's really two reasons why I don't think I'll be reading issue number 12 is because of that quality of the writing in issue number 11, and I don't feel like I can be sure that that Boy's going to actually show up in the next issue, or if he'll just kind of be lurking in the shadows again. I mean, if we look, like, there's no sign of him on the cover of the next issue, and no sign of him on the cover of the next issue. And then, yeah, so as far as you go, there's no sign of him on any of the covers. And then it looks like he does kind of he has a supporting role in here, at least according to League of Comic Geeks in number 12. But I don't know. Feel like it's a little cheap to put a well liked character on the cover of something and then have him show up like in the last couple pages. I mean, that's just me, maybe. Anyway, so Nightwing 136. And let me see, because if I expand this out a bit, it should give me the. Yeah, so it got pretty good ratings. I did see a lot of complaints on this regarding Dennis Cowan's art. And I think I feel the same way about Dennis Cowan's art as I do Jim Lee's art to a certain extent, because I love Jim Lee. But as someone has pointed out to me, Jim Lee's art and in turn Dennis Cowan's art, because they do have a similar style in my opinion. Um, they're very static. It's almost like everyone's posing for each panel. It's not the most dynamic art in the world. Um, that doesn't mean it's not good, right? I mean, there's a time and a place for it. I really thought it was a good issue, right? I think that like the entire thing takes place in a car, right? Like if we just look at what's in here. Yeah, like I love his line work. Let me see how far it goes in. Yeah. Yeah, see that's as far as it goes. Um it I really love his line work, and I'll even actually leave it up so that you can see it while I'm talking about it. But I think what a lot of people had complaints on were there not being a lot of emotion on the faces, right? I mean, I can understand that, um, but I thought that it was a really well put together, uh, a really well put together story, and like this really feels like high stakes, not only high stakes, but um, like Nightwing actually has more of his own identity and not just being like Batman Jr. Um, because I think that he can get that a lot, because the shift from Robin to Nightwing, like initially, I don't think it was meant to be a let's make Dick Grayson a darker character. It was a let's graduate him from this this child into like he's grown now. And like I think that then in the 90s, like with Chuck Dixon, it kind of became a like, oh, like and I love Chuck Dixon's run, but it did kind of become a like, hey, let's make him a protector of a rundown city. And it's like, but we already have Batman for that, you know? And I think that what Chuck Dixon still did well was how Dick approaches being the protector. He handles it with a bit more, I guess, like flair and with a different attitude than Batman does. And like Chuck Dixon wrote Batman too, so you can see the differences in the way that he writes Batman and the way he writes Nightwing. But either way, this really felt like more of a um like Nightwing having more of his own identity here. And I really like that. So um Dan Waters is great. I was kind of thinking that the Cirque de Sin thing was going to last a little longer. So I am a little surprised at that here. I also really like Dexter Soy, and I'm not complaining about Dennis Cowan being the artist, but I do really like Dexter Soy. So I hope that we get a nice solid run with Dennis Cowan, and then Dexter Soy comes back, or we see Dexter Soy come to another book. I really liked the way he drew the Justice League. I think there was a few members of the Justice League in one of the Nightwing issues, and it was incredible. So I think Dexter Soy is going to be one of the next big things at DC, and hopefully they don't steal him over at Marvel. Um, but yeah, no, I really liked this issue. This was, and on top of that, one thing to note about this Nightwing issue is it's clear to me that they are going to leverage the destruction of Bloodhaven from this last arc and not just kind of ignore it, right? It's going to be something that's very prevalent, and I'm really looking forward to the next issue because I think it's just going to kind of keep going. So, okay, this whole Road to Armageddon thing for Marvel says Armageddon assembles in 3 months now. Okay, I really don't like. I'm sure that it'll all connect at some point, right? But to me, this still feels very standalone, where we're not getting a whole lot of insight as to what's going to happen with this Armageddon bit. Now, you can see how it's connected with the weapons of what was it? Weapons of Armageddon, Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon. It's one of those. Yeah, Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon. Because Dave Colton, aka early 2000s Captain America, is he shows up in that run in the Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon. So that's how these are going to be connected one way or another. I still don't know how much this actually pertains. If anything, the first arc was a lead up to this Armageddon event. But I kind of am wondering if they're calling this a prologue to Avengers Armageddon because they just want people to buy the book. Um, I don't know. I mean, 12,000 pulls on this is not a bad number. That's not anything to look down upon. So that's pretty solid. Um, I mean, it was really good though. I like the uh I like the kind of I mean this has a very serious tone to it, right? Um it feels impactful to the Marvel universe as a whole. It feels relevant to, that they just finished the One World Under Doom event, which I'd like to read like the collected edition of. I haven't read really any of that yet. So I'd be interested in reading that. And yeah, and so I like this. Salvation is Cap's old friend from the old days, right? From when he was with Dave Colton. And it's his name's I believe Marius Wolf. And I do find it interesting that he's this kind of rebel leader named Marius. Um, it makes me wonder if he's gonna, you know, run off and if he's gonna run off and find what's her name, find Cassette. Just making sure. Do I have the right? Yeah, yeah. It would have been better if they had named Salvation Angel Ross, but that's neither here nor there. Uh, so I like what Chip Zdarsky's doing with Captain America. I could see this run going for a while. I say this every time I talk about a Captain America or Chip, one of Chip's Captain America books. It's much closer to his Daredevil um than it is to his Batman. So that's one of the best uh recommendations that I can, or the best reviews that I can give for it. It should give you a good idea as to uh, the kind of quality that you should expect. So, uh, oh, also to note on this, I believe that yeah, so it's not the same artist as normal. I did like the art though, and you can look at it in the preview here. Um, yeah, I mean it's good art, right? I do really like it. It's not as exciting as I'm trying to remember the name. I think Valerio Schiti is the normal series artist. So it's not quite at that level in my opinion, but still pretty solid. But just if you pick up this issue and if it does the art doesn't really fit your taste, just keep in mind it's not the regular series artist. It's a sub-in artist. So we've got World's Finest, number 49, which is great and all, but I really think we're just excited for issue number 50. Um, so this was cool to see kind of the rest of the other side of how we got to where we are on from last issue, where uh, Ultraman and Owlman have Superman and Batman kind of held hostage, and it's I mean it was a good issue. I liked the art. I didn't realize that Mark Russell helped write this. That's interesting. Um, but yeah, I mean it was pretty solid. I think it's always fun whenever you see Ultraman and Owlman and they get to go head to head with Batman and Superman. Um, but yeah, I mean it was good. It was good. I liked it. But looking forward to next month where we have issue number 50 and Dan Mora comes back, which is rather exciting. And it also says that Robin will be coming back. I feel like we haven't seen Robin in one of these in a little bit. So he used to be in it all the time. Batman number 7 was probably one of the best issues I read over the last 2 weeks. Um, just the look into the Joker. Like obviously everyone like lots of people complain about the overuse of the Joker and I understand. I think that from my point of view, the the Joker is just such a timeless Batman villain that it doesn't really seem like it would make sense for him to go away, right? And like how limiting on a Batman run would it really be, if DC said to someone, "Hey, like congratulations, you're the new Batman writer. By the way, you can't use his most iconic villain. Like good luck." I mean, I think every Batman writer wants to have a chance to tell their Joker story. And I think Matt Fraction did a really good job here because it was just very unsettling, but not in like a like over the top like gross way, but just like the Joker was just he seemed very like calm, but like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so you almost spend the issue like just kind of worrying, right? And so to be able to like invoke that kind of emotion, right, in a single issue is pretty impressive. So I really like this one. I'm looking forward to kind of where it goes next. Um, what's interesting is that I don't see anything Joker related over the next several issues. So I'm wondering if maybe this was like a seed being planted and that we're going to be coming back to this at some point. I think that'd be pretty great. Um, but we'll see. I mean, a lot of Fractions run so far has been um not like standalone, but in reality, a lot of the issues have been fairly like you can read it without having a ton of context. I mean, like it helps to have it, but they've been really like strong narratively to the point where you don't really need that, extra issue ahead, like maybe the issue before, to just wrap your head around. But like overall, it's just been, you know, like pretty easy to follow. So we have here Transformers number 30. And I picked up the Daniel Warren Johnson variant cover B here. I know some people don't love David Nakayama, David Nakayama's covers. Um, this one in particular isn't my favorite. I do like he did all the covers for Darkwing Duck, and so I did like those. But for me, it was just between this and Daniel Warren Johnson. I have to go Daniel Warren Johnson. Um, yeah, I mean, this was pretty solid. I like that there wasn't like too many characters in it, which is usually my problem. Um, I do like this from Comic Supreme. I know. Just, trust us. This is going to be cool. Cool stuff ahead. Now let's answer some mail. Um, yeah. So if you don't want any spoilers, you might want to skip or plug your ears and say la la la, which you might want to do anyway, even if you hear what I have to say. But basically, Optimus Prime relinquishes his position as Prime and gives it to Elita One, and she becomes Elita Prime, and he's just Optimus. It's interesting to see what a non-Prime Optimus looks like. I do have to say, based on the cover of GI Joe number 20, where he is pictured as Optimus Prime, Duke doesn't meet Optimus Prime; he meets Optimus. So, to me, that was kind of the funny thing. But the like, I'm sure big time fans are going to be upset about that, just because like some people just don't like change. I think it makes perfect sense. I think it's interesting. I think that it fits Optimus's character very well because he's not going to sit there and beat down Elita One because, like, first of all, I think he like deep down knows that like she's making a lot of sense. And so for anyone that's not necessarily reading, um basically Optimus Prime has been on Earth this whole time trying to protect Earth from Decepticons. Meanwhile, Elita is back on Cybertron. I mean, fighting this war for years and years and years with no help, losing over and over. And so, like she feels abandoned because their leader is off on some other planet, not helping their home planet. Um, I mean, she's not entirely wrong. I get where Optimus is coming from, where he doesn't want to just abandon people of Earth. Um, but also he has a duty. If he's like the leader of the Autobots, he probably has a responsibility to a certain like subset of Cybertronians, right? I mean, I I don't think she's all that wrong. Either way, I think it makes sense to have her be the leader, and it's interesting to see. And actually, I think it's going to address one of my biggest issues is that there's about 1,000 Autobots on Earth right now. And then at the end of this issue, she goes, "Everyone, come with me. Like, if you're with me, you're with me." And I'm pretty sure she says something along the lines of like, "You're getting booted out of like the Autobots if you stay here," right? And it doesn't even seem like in a super malicious way, but like in the same way that like an army deserter would get get kicked out, right? Although I think that would probably in real life have more repercussions than what the former now I guess now former Autobots um, and followers of Optimus would have happened to them. But either way, I think it's going to eliminate a bunch of the problems that I have with understanding which characters are where. So I really just need to look at the last page of this one again and get acquainted with those folks because that way I'm going to be able to understand where which characters are like the big players here. Also, something I just thought of is that the the Autobots they're going back with Elita Prime. I do wonder if there's going to be some sort of connection between them and the Quintesson War and everything going on in Void Rivals. So we'll have a subset of Transformers, um, hanging out in the GI Joe universe, a subset hanging out in the Void Rivals universe, and then like kind of in between the two in Transformers. So it was a pretty good one. It was eventful, and I enjoyed it. But I am looking forward to this book more now, moving forward, than I probably have since Daniel Warren Johnson's initial part of his run, rather. So we have Superman Unlimited. Superman Unlimited, number 11. We've got John Kent on the front, and we have Tomorrow Man. What's interesting here, I don't know. Yeah, I don't see what's happening here. Yeah, okay. So like in the preview, we know that Master, I don't know, I'm not going to try to pronounce it. The not Mixpitslick. This fourth dimensional demon, sorry. Yeah, so basically the big news here is that John Kent, older John Kent now has his new identity as Tomorrow Man. And I think it's a cool character design. I think it's awesome that they got Dan Moore to do the cover of this. Even though, as most DC fans would understand when I say that they probably have Dan Moore chained up in a basement somewhere just cranking out covers because nobody, I don't understand how he can continue to put out the amount of work that he does and be like a real human being, right? And then people have seen him in real life, so we know he's real. And his work's too good to be AI. So um, it's just unreal that he is able to put out as much work as he does and all of it be as high quality as it is. Um, I think it's just such a good style is what it is. But um, I think he was the perfect person to to give Tomorrow Man uh his design, or his first real like good look on the cover here. Um and then Lucas Meyer on the inside did a great job. But the the interesting thing here, right, is that do we think that there's a possibility that now that young John Kent, Superboy John Kent, has shown up at the end of this issue, and John Kent, older John Kent, is a has a, like a new superhero identity? Do we think that there's a possibility that they will both coexist in the DC universe now? It feels a little anticlimactic the way that they did this. It's like, by the way, a random issue of not the main Superman line. Um, John Kent's back, which is something that people have been clamoring for immensely. Um, I'd be all for it because I'm a John Kent Superboy fan, and honestly, a lot of older John Kent stories have been either poorly written or just they make him a boring character. I'm trying to remember. There was something about, I think it might have been back in like Lazarus Planet, where uh they actually like have a really interesting, could have been it could have been Lazarus Planet. Where it could have been, or they had a really interesting dynamic between John and Jay Nakamura. And I think that they have an opportunity to make Jay a villain, and it could be really interesting. I don't know if they'll do it or not, but either way, um, I really liked Superman Unlimited number 11. That was a good one. Blood and Thunder number 11. I like how vague these solicits are. This is a really, really good series. Um, I mean, I've consistently enjoyed Blood and Thunder every single issue. I I don't know why the like edgy, like smart ass type character that Blood is, why it works here, or at least works for me, because I tend to not love characters like that, like Deadpool. Like, I'm not a fan of Deadpool, generally speaking. Like, I'll enjoy some things with Deadpool in it, but I would very rarely pick up a Deadpool book independently. Um, but the but Blood is like, kind of has a similar vibe, but or like Harley Quinn, right? Like, just like, I'm kind of not sure how to phrase it, but basically along those lines. And I think for Blood it works, right? And I think that just the world building that's going on here is incredible. And I think that I really hope that this book doesn't like, um I really hope that this book doesn't just go away, because the pool numbers have me a little worried. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a ton of hype surrounding this book, but I've really enjoyed it. Um like the it's I mean, to someone's point down here, like, it's the sci-fi is fairly light. It's not like over the top and unbelievable, but it does feel like a vast universe. So I think that if you're not big on sci-fi, that you might still like it, um, because it's not like over the top, unbelievable science fiction type stuff. Even though there's like aliens and stuff like that, it's like fairly mild in that regard. Like there's not a ton of like cosmic confusing stuff going on. Let's put it that way. It's all very they're all very human problems. So uh we are 12 books in, and yeah, but some of these are Fantastic Four that I can get through pretty quick. So got like 15 minutes or so. Um, but Absolute Batman. So I picked this back up again, and this still blows my mind. This 49,000. One thing I want to look at, right, is because you can sort on League of Comic Geeks. Like when searching for new books or books that are going to be coming out, you can browse by release week, and I know how to do it on the app. I don't know how to necessarily do it on the website, but you can sort it by most pulled, right? And of all the publishers, like Absolute Batman 19 is the most pulled book for final order cutoff tonight. The next one is Absolute Flash, right? So like if I were to go look at, and maybe we can do it this way. Let's look at it this way. New comics. And we can do browse by week, browse by final order cutoff, and then sorting most pulled. Okay, there we go. So Absolute Batman 19 has like 49,000 pulls. Absolute Flash, 26. So like even like Absolute Wonder Woman, 35,000. Okay. Let's look at next week. Most pulled Batman, 32,000. All right. None of these are like even sniffing Absolute Green Lantern, 20,000. Notice these are all Absolute line books, by the way. And I also want to point out Daredevil number one issue, 12,000. That's rough. And again, like to be clear, I understand that the League of Comic Geeks pull numbers are not by any means the rule, right? They're directionally though they're gonna give us an idea as to what how the book is performing from a pre-order standpoint, right? So we did Absolute Green Lantern. Amazing Spider-Man is on here, 13,000. That's pretty crazy to me that Absolute Green Lantern is outperforming Amazing Spider-Man and X-Men. So you have a week where in Transformers, I mean, like to me that says to me that like Marvel's in some trouble, right? I mean, X-Men is at 12,000, and then Something is Killing the Children is back and it's at 8,000. Like I feel like a year ago or 2 years ago that there's no way it would be that close. We've got Absolute Batman 19 and Absolute Flash. So Absolute Batman number 19, 51,000. It's crazy. Nightwing's at 20,000. Ultimate Wolverine, still on the Ultimate line, right? 16,000. And I don't even know, like, I know we have Ultimate Wolverine. I thought the Ultimate Universe was over, to be honest with you. Amazing Spider-Man number 27, 13,000. Absolute Wonder Woman, 35,000. Let's see, like Detective Comics, right? Like that's 20,000. Okay, so like it's Superman, 15. Okay, here's the ultimates, right? 18,000, right? If you look at this 429 week, DC has Zatanna #1 coming out. They have Batman and Wonder Woman, The Truth #1, which I do have on my list to talk about. That's really low, but that's pretty low. That's surprising. And this Swamp Thing 1989. Oh, over 3 decades since the controversy and cancellation, Rick Veitch's legendary Lost issues are completed. After a renowned 2-year run of the series, Veitch's grand finale to Swamp Thing was cut short and never to see print. Whispers and leaks hinted at the epic untold saga for years. Now, for the first time, that final story is told. Dang. And that's sweet. They're calling it like Black Label. Oh, and then Swampy. That's a good guy. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So Marvel has Ultimate Endgame at 12,000. Like, I mean, that's just wild to me. So you got Batman's at 32. What's Absolute Superman at? 32. I mean, yeah, that's interesting. Here lies the X-Men. I think that the most telling of all these views, right? And I'm gonna like post a screenshot of this to Instagram, right? But like Absolute Green Lantern and Transformers beating out Amazing Spider-Man, and like Something is Killing the Children and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles being so close to X-Men is pretty crazy. Oh, I'm excited for Firestorm. That'll be good. But I just spent like 7 of my last 15 minutes bashing Marvel when I was supposed to be talking about Absolute Batman. I liked Absolute Batman #18. I think Absolute Poison Ivy is an interesting character. I think I said last time I talked about an Absolute Batman issue, which was the first part of this like kind of two-parter where we first meet Poison Ivy. I think that she's very similar to regular Mr. Freeze to me, but nonetheless, still very good. I need to catch up. I didn't read any of like the Bane stuff, so I need to catch up on that to kind of wrap my head around what's happening here. But overall, it's enjoyable. I'm glad I picked it back up. GI Joe #20. It says Optimus Prime and Duke meet for the first time. That was a lie. And it was really good though. I mean, these two are just like so similar in terms of the way that they approach leadership, and these two being Optimus and Duke. But they're so similar in the way that they approach leadership. I think that Duke's a lot more cynical than Optimus is, but they both kind of lead by example, like no man left behind, like that kind of thing. So it was cool to see them meet, and it's really a turning point for the series because I think it's really going to have Duke understand that that certain Transformers can be trusted, that it's not all of these giant robots are evil, but rather there is a group of them that are evil. So, um, I do kind of like that they like meet and have a conversation and then go their separate ways. I don't know that it was quite the time for there to be a full on like cross between. Um, but like the fact that they've met is like telling on the fact that um that like we're at some point going to get them teaming up. Like it has to happen at some point. I am a little disappointed. Like as great as this cover is, right? I got this Josh Cassara cover. It's a really great cover. Okay. Any other week, I'd be really hyped about that cover. But I didn't get the cover A, and it's like the Optimus Prime and Duke cover. So that was just a little bit of a bummer, but that's okay. Um, what else do we have here? Oh, so at my and actually I had more stuff on here. Holy smokes. Okay. Um, my local comic shop updated their dollar bin, and I was able to get the first 4 issues of Fantastic Four and from the dollar bin, and they were all really good. I mean, I'm not surprised because I really liked Ryan North's um his like the beginning of his first run. I was pulling that, and then I actually stopped pulling it because they wanted to charge like $10 for some milestone issue, and I wasn't about that life. So um this was cool though. Um it felt segmented yet well, really the first like 3 issues are oh, look, I guess they're actually like tie-ins with One World Under Doom. I didn't realize that. I like and that's actually a testament to how well the book is written is the fact that I didn't even realize that these were tie-ins. Because like I knew like the only thing I knew about One World Under Doom the is that Doom was the sorcerer supreme. Like that was the extent of it. Um, so the fact that I was able to enjoy these as a tie-in is it says something about the quality. And then like they're really just well-written stories too. You know, I mean, they have to do with time travel and they have like a contingency plan around it. And Reed basically spends an eternity like making sure that Sue's able to get back from the future. It's fantastic stuff. And then issue number 4 is an issue centered on Alicia. Um, and I was wondering what her maiden name was, but because I always just knew her as Alicia Grimm, but Alicia Masters Grimm, which is Ben Grimm's wife. So that one's really cool. And they get a new pet, and everyone thinks it's a dog, but Alicia isn't quite fooled. And you see the pet is this giant, like monster looking thing. So Johnny's mustache is great, by the way. So I'm glad he's kept it for this long because he got that mustache like early on in North's the beginning of Ryan North's run. Uh okay. So that's what I read. And actually that doesn't even cover everything because I also read um and it was a reread, so I guess it doesn't really matter that much. But I read an issue of Action Comics, which was part of the Phantoms uh trade by Mark Wade and Clayton Henry, and that was pretty good. So we can go through what we've got coming up here fairly quickly. Um, but this week we have a few cool things coming out. It's a fairly big week. There's 6 books on my list. I've got the Superman Spider-Man crossover, which I'm excited for. I thought that the Deadpool Batman crossover was pretty solid, but even more impressively, the fact that it like I mentioned before, I don't really like Deadpool that much. So I would imagine that a Superman Spider-Man crossover is going to be a lot more appealing to me, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, just to kind of touch on all these different creative teams. We've got Mark Wade and Jorge Jimenez, right? That's going to be awesome. World's Finest with Tom King and Jim Lee. And who's that going to be? Superman and Spider-Man. Okay, awesome. I don't know what pages means. Okay, so Spider-Man, Superboy Prime, Crypto, and Superman with Christopher Priest and Daniel Samper. Like these are like stars. Sean Murphy. And who's Sean Murphy doing? Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man, and Superboy. Jimmy Con Carnage with Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber. So Jimmy and Carnage. Jimmy Olsen and Carnage. That's quite a quite a thing. Clark Kent and Peter Parker with Jeff Lemire and Rafa Sandoval. Bias, Greg Rucka with Nicholas Scott. J. Jonah Jameson, Perry White, Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen, Peter Parker. Blind Date with Gail Simone, Power Girl, and Punisher. That's an interesting combo. It says, why would you give someone who's physically unable to write women a crossover with two of the most important women characters in comic books? I'm assuming that they're talking about, because it's World's Finest, Lois Lane and Mary Jane Watson Parker. Now the Tom King haters can go cry. That's fine. Okay, what else do we have moving here? So I'm looking forward to that one. That's going to be a good crossover. I think it should be fun. It's an all-star lineup for sure. Justice League Unlimited. Okay, so what I'm really anticipating here, right, is that like Lex Luthor has to be just livid about what happened in DCKO. And essentially what it is, for anyone that missed it, is Lex Luthor won the tournament, but Superman got all the power anyway. That's such a slap to Lex Luthor. And if anyone takes it poorly, it's going to be him, right? I would love to see DC take that and make Lex Luthor the center focus on the villain side of things for the next big event for DC. Like this is the last straw. It has to be the last straw, because if they just don't address it, that's going to drive me nuts, because it's like the central focus of his character is that Superman isn't human. He doesn't deserve anything that he has. He hasn't earned anything. Like he's been gifted these incredible powers and he doesn't use them for things that Lex Luthor would use them for. And Lex Luthor won and Superman still won. I hope that gets addressed here. Also worth noting is this variant cover, which is just a great variant cover with Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. You gotta love that. I don't know whose cover that is. Bruno Redondo. Nice. That would be, I almost even look at that as like an homage to, not fully, but like an homage to Keith Giffen. Not Keith Giffen, Kevin Maguire, because of how much he drew Booster and Blue Beetle together in the JLI run. But so I'm running a little bit over, so I'll kind of go through these a little quick. But like Skin Breakers Final Order Cutoff, Skin Breakers coming out next week. I really need to find issue number 2. I still haven't caught up on that. And then Superman number 36, end result of DCKO is that Superman's missing. So now Superboy Prime is kind of taking over the Superman book for a little bit. I need to go back and read whatever event it was that Superboy Prime showed up in. And I'm going to look for that right now. It should be first appearance. Where's first appearance? Other personas, featuring these titles, featured writers. Why are we not? Oh, key events. Oh, come on. No. I just want to know. First appearance. Infinite Crisis. I thought I read Infinite Crisis. Maybe I didn't. Nope. Guess I didn't. Okay. I need to read Infinite Crisis so that I can understand where Superboy Prime is coming from. But yeah, so he's going to kind of take over, and we've got this whole reign of the Superboys thing that Supergirl is supposed to be a part of. But again, I don't feel like there's an actual event there, but I think that if these companies tell you that there's an event and it'll get people to buy more books, I don't love it, but it is what it is. Void Rivals, continuance of the Quintesson War. Oh, the 100th issue of the Energon universe. That's fun. And then someone says Proximus cover. That's not Proximus. That's Invincible. What am I looking for? Oh, is that it? That's awesome. The other shoe dropped on Void Rivals, which I read that too. That wasn't on my list for some reason. We knew from like issue number 2 that somewhere early on, that Proximus was Salila's brother. We knew it. I knew it, at least. I mean, it was apparent to me. Apparent. So excited to see where that goes. That's got to be addressed. They left issue number 27 on that. So looking forward to this one. More Armageddon, Avengers Armageddon. Like I mentioned earlier, Wolverine, the first issue that's had Dave Colton in it, right? It's not called Desert Storm because that was before, but the Born Afghanistan Captain America, he shows up. So that's who Dave Colton is, by the way. Superman Unlimited number 12. Okay, so this is where final order cutoffs start, right? So we have final order cutoff tonight for Superman Unlimited number 12, and I am excited because I think that Superboy might be back permanently. That'd be great. We have Ice Cream Man number 45. Now this has been delayed, I think, already. But this is an homage to Alfred Hitchcock in Ice Cream Man, and that's just going to be incredible. I mean, I've only read a handful of Ice Cream Man issues, but every single issue I've read has been incredible. Like, this creative team doesn't miss. We talked about Absolute Batman number 19 already. I don't need to tell you to pull it because you're already pulling it, because everyone is. Superman 37. We talked about the Superboy Prime impact here, and we got final order cutoff for that is next week. Is there anything else down here? Yeah, we saw Batman and Wonder Woman Truth number 1. That's kind of just a cool like crossover bit. Not even a crossover because they're like in the same universe, right? But it feels like I haven't seen the two of them interact too much as of late. And so that final order cutoff, I believe, is also next week. Yep, next week. And so I'm thinking about getting that. I'll probably talk to you about it next week, and you'll get to see me impulse pull live. Nightwing 137. And like this whole thing taking place on the highway, this highway after a collision. We saw the collision last issue. Um, like this cover looks great. Last issue was really cool, and then Batman shows up. So hyped for that. Um, and that final order cutoff is tonight. So make sure you grab that if you want. So Captain America #9. Again, Captain cornered on the road to Armageddon. Not sure how this is a road to Armageddon. Maybe it'll make sense later. Probably not. Probably just trying to get people to buy books. But this one's worth getting anyway. So even though it's not necessarily apparent as to how it's connecting to this whole Armageddon thing, it's still a quality book. And so final order cutoff for that, I believe, is also tonight. Yes. So make sure you get that in. And the last item here is this Fireborn #1. Now, I don't know if I'm going to pull this or not, but I wanted to highlight the fact that the artist on this book, as well as Lost Fantasy, which book is spinning out of, is Franklin Jonas, which is indeed the younger brother of the Jonas Brothers. And so if you're into the Jonas Brothers, which who are you kidding? Everyone's into the Jonas Brothers, then maybe take a look. But that's what I have. And I have gone well over my normal allotted hour, but you know, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. But I appreciate everyone watching, and thank you for the support. Make sure you like the video and that you subscribe to the channel. Share the video if you think someone else might be interested. I received the high compliment this past weekend that somebody listens to my videos as background noise. Thank you, Connor. And I mean, if you want to listen as background noise, that's fine by me. I appreciate it. So, thank you very much and have a good evening.